What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, Solana absolutely took off. So in yesterday's video, we were talking about whether it was too late to buy or not, and personally speaking, I was like, man, with this big green wick up and execution on the 1.618, I think buying right here is incredibly risky. So personally, I would be waiting for some structure to be established. I said, even if the bust does get ahead of us, we're still looking for that bust stop for somewhere in which we can see structure built, and that's where I think the better buying opportunity would be if you are looking to buy while it's setting all-time highs. You know, a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people got in much earlier and they're just letting it ride. So I'm really more talking to people who either want to increase their position or people who do want to short-term trade this. Okay. So since then, the price did absolutely take off. So congratulations to the people who, just say YOLO. Oh, well, let's see. I don't care if it's risky. I'm just going to get into it. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes you'll jump on that bus perfectly and sometimes you don't. That's just the name of the game. But for me personally, I look for structure establishment. I'm not really a big FOMO guy. I never really feel FOMO whenever we see the price doing this, and I'm looking like, I just think coming up on the 1.618 that it's still really risky and that the risk versus reward needs to be taken into consideration. I just think that I'm gonna let them watch this one, see what it does, and when the price goes up, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm happy for everyone who got in, but let's look for that support establishment so we can find our breakout targets, we can figure out where this thing's going. Then we look for another short-term trade, long-term position increase, or something of that nature. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So what we're going to be looking at the moment, of course, is what it's going to look like for support to be established and how do we find the breakout, okay? Because we've had two fantastic moves already, right? So the first one that we saw was going to be back here. This was going to be the first trade that we had went over, and what we were looking to see happen was, again, when the price did come down, we went swing high down to swing low, and we did a trade coming up off of the 786. I said that if we go to clear that $124 level, be looking for an extension on the 1.618 up to about $147. As you can see, we cleared that $124. We came back down, established a bit of support. Boom, took off a great little trade there, as well as the same trade that we went over in the 2 to 3 videos, I would say, in which we were looking for a breakout of $147. We saw that breakout of 147, expected the extension up to 155 to 161, and so that was another great trade there. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to simply look at what I need to see for myself to be buying, what I would need to see for myself to be confirmed that we're going to see this thing continue upwards, okay? Because remember, as the price is setting new all-time highs, you never know at what given point this thing is going to come falling down, okay? I truly honestly believe, again, still, that YOLO buying on these big green candles is an absolutely risky idea, okay? You never know, because remember, these things that go up real fast come down real hard, okay? Now, sometimes they'll consolidate, which is beautiful when we see those big consolidational periods. But other times, what goes up real hard, comes down real hard. Not all the way back down, but a good retracement, okay? So that's why I always look for confirmation that the uptrend is going to continue before YOLOing in money, okay? So what I want to see now at this given point is, now that we've seen an execution of the 3.618, on top of the fact that we are seeing our first red candle outside of our 4-hour Bollinger Band, it does look at that, it looks like we are seeing this thing finally slow down now that we're approaching about $200, which is common. We approach such a big number like that. We approach such a number in which many people are going to have limit orders at, and stop loss is going to be set below it and things like that. We're going to expect a little bit of resistance, okay? So what I would need to see personally is a very strong level of support established before I bought in. Buying right here, whenever we are just going absolutely, we're just flying, but the rest of the market is incredibly red, I don't think that it's the best idea. Now, yesterday, right here, I said I didn't think it was the best idea, and look what the price did. So it doesn't mean, I'm the know-all be-all, but this is just my opinion, okay? When the rest of the market is looking so red, but Solana's doing well, but starting to slow down, that could just simply be a sign that resistance is being met, and we might see it slow down. Now, typically speaking, on these big runs, whenever we see it get extended out of our 4-hour Bollinger Band, once we see a red candle, that's typically a sign that consolidational period is going to begin. Now, it does not mean that it's not going to continue back upwards, but it does mean that the bus stop that we're looking for to get on the bus may be right around the corner. For example, if we do simply just look at both of these times, we see the first red candle, it started to come back down, picked up a little bit more momentum, but then eventually it came back down to establish that support, same thing here. Establish that that red candle right there. So in the last 2 times this has happened, we've come down to establish support. So I would just be looking for a similar move, right? I'm looking for confirmations. That's all. And so what I would be looking for at this point is going to see that this starts to work its way back within our 4-hour Bollinger Bands. Now the Bollinger Bands are expanding. And so as they are expanding, it will become easier to work its way in. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to fall. It could consolidate, that's fine. But I just want to see it work its way within it, just like we saw here. Okay, even though it still went back up, we found ourselves back within it. That's the first sign that we're seeing it finally slow down. We're not having such a strong deviation away from our moving average, and that we're finding a bit of structure. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to be doing is, personally, I won't be buying this thing, and I wouldn't be looking to buy it until we at least get an interaction on the 20 simple moving average on the 4-hour Bollinger Band, the orange line that runs in between your Bollinger Band envelope for those of you who do use them. Okay. Now, the reason I say that is because it's acted as our key level of support on multiple occasions here, and I would just be looking for that same thing. Okay. I would be looking to see, all right, let's see how the price reacts if we start to fall down to that level. Now, at the moment, we are seeing that our 20 simple moving average is going right into our retracement zone as well. And so if we were able to see, a bit of a pullback, some structure establishment, as well as an interaction on that 20 SMA, this is a very strong level of support. And there is a big argument to be made that structure could for sure be found here. Okay. So that would be step number 2, an interaction with our 20 SMA that would very, very likely occur at the same time that we see an interaction from this swing low to this swing high on this Fibonacci retracement. Okay, we would see our interaction with one of these fib levels nearly at the same exact time. At the moment, looks like we found a little bit of support at the 382. So look to see, if this continues upwards, all we got to do is just move that swing high up there. Boom, then we go swing high or swing low to swing high. But I just want to see support get established before I just put some money in. Okay. So that's step number 2. So step number 2 is going to be watching to see the price come back down to find an interaction with this 20 SMA. You guys do know, even if the price goes up and up and up and up and up, eventually at some point, it's going to come back down to find this retest. And at that point, in order for me to mitigate risk, that's what I'm going to start to look to buy. Okay, that's what I'm looking to buy. Now, one good thing about this big move that we did see at the moment was going to be the fact that we cleared off some of this bearish divergence we were seeing. Now, what I mean by that is we set this high up here on the RSI, we set a high, then we came down to set a lower high while setting a higher high on the price. Now, this is typically a sign that the bulls are starting to slow down. This is typically a sign that we are starting to see, just possibly a slowdown. The bears might slowly be taken over, that the bulls are starting to run out of momentum. So what you want to see is that we can clear it. You want to see that on that next high, we can go up and set that higher high. Boom, higher high here, higher high here, to clear off some of that bearish divergence to show that the bulls are still in this thing. So I'm definitely happy to see that. That's a great sign. But what that also means is that we can take a look at this level of support that we established on the RSI as a key level of indication that we may be looking at a reversal. So at the time that we do come down, if we do start to see the price interacting with this SMA, whether it be a consolidational period until we get there or a slow gradual climb until we get there, once we see that interaction, if our RSI is looking very similar, that could be another key sign, like, okay, this bus stop is right here. It's right around the corner. Okay. So this isn't a 100% mandatory step. It may come down or it may sit somewhere above it, but this is definitely like a little add-on. It's a little extra piece of confirmation to say, okay, we may be looking at a great buying opportunity here. Now, the last thing that I'm going to be looking for, of course, is that breakout of the Fibonacci's. Now, you guys know this one. We do it every single video, basically, but you guys know what that looks like. So what I'm going to be looking for at that point is that, say this 20 SMA works its way up here, and we say we look at some of our EMAs, and they're doing something similar like this, and we see the price come back down, wick down to that 20 SMA, and close on that 20 EMA. Okay. Now, this is what I would be looking for at this point. Now, our Bollinger Bands would be here, boom, and our price is looking, our price is this yellow line. So what I'm looking for, last but not least, the last thing I'm looking for at that point, after step 1 and step 2 have been completed, step 1 being we enter into our Bollinger Band envelope, step 2, we interact with our EMAs and our 20 SMA that runs in between our two Bollinger Bands. We then want to clear our swing high to swing low 786 Fibonacci retracement level. What that looks like is if we establish support here, and this is our high, what we want to see is that clearing of that 786, which is represented by $188 in this example. But of course, it'll be very different depending on where we come down to set a low. Okay. Once we clear that 188, I would go to say that we're going to 1.618 extend again. So I'm looking for my take profits level around that 215 to 205. That's how I start to pre-plan these trades. So I have my steps. I have my checklist. Like, okay, we entered back into the envelope. Boom, step number 1. Okay, we're seeing an interaction with the 786 somewhere around this little area maybe, and we're interacting with our 20 SMA down there as well. Okay, that's step number 2. Oh, looky there, RSI is at our key level of support. Step number 3. Step number 4, now we're looking for this 786 to be cleared. Boom, I'm in that thing. Stop loss set under that SMA with our price target at a 1.618 fib extension. Okay, so when you ask yourself the question, should you buy right now? It's not necessarily about, oh, do I just want to YOLO in? But it's more about establishing a game plan of when you would buy and when you could be justifiably purchasing something. Now, you guys know I say it all the time. I'm not perfect, right? Again, I said right here that it was probably too late to buy and that the price could be falling at some point, and it still went up. I'm not perfect. But what I aim for is justifiable buys. Had I bought right here, I couldn't justify that. Right? There's no structure. There's no breakout pattern that would have predicted this move up. It was simply just, it was a great move, right? But what I could do is justify buying right here when we saw a breakout of the 786 right here. Because the reason I want justifiable buys is they make me emotionless when buying cryptos or doing anything. Just simply trading cryptos, or and my people and my family or anyone are trading cryptos. When I make justifiable buys, I have no emotions, because even if I'm wrong, even if the price goes down, I can justify why I made that buy, put logic behind it, and I don't feel like that much emotion. I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. I might have made a bad trade right there. Hey, that's what happens sometimes, or get it wrong, but that was a justifiable buy. If I YOLO money in when the price is just flying and then it starts to go down, I'd probably be more mad at myself and be a little bit more emotional and start making bad decisions with investing, because I'm like, man, why did I do that? That was the dumbest thing ever. You know what I mean? And so that's why when we do this, we start to game plan. We start to look for these steps and we start to figure out an exact trading strategy on when we would start to get in on this thing or when we wouldn't. Okay. So once more support and more structure gets established, I will update you guys very, very soon, but start to get a game plan going. This is just for me personally when I would be buying. If you have other strategies, if you have other things you look at, leave them in the comment section below. Let people see it. Let people know what you do. But for me, this is personally what I'm looking for. Okay. And so with that being said, again, whenever we see some type of structure established and support established, I will update you guys on what it looks like, breakout prices, breakout targets, and more. So definitely stay tuned and hit that notification bell so you do not miss that video, and I will see you all next time. Peace.